Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Titleless Musings, and today I have a brand new reading journal with me for you. So today we're going to be looking at my kind of curated selection of books from the second quarter of 2026. Obviously, we are going to start here with April, and I'll go through the books just quickly. I am planning a series. It should have already come out by the point you're seeing this, but my kind of detailed yes, no, or maybe, where I talk more in depth about these books. So if you want to know my thoughts on all the books I've read this year, definitely check out that series, sorry. But this series is just specifically like a curation of the books that I've read. So again, starting in April, my favorite book was Sky Daddy. This is a book where I heard of it and I've had it on my TBR since it came out, but I got pushed to read it because everybody on the r/Weird Girls literature subreddit kept talking about it. I am so pleased to say that it is just as good as the hype it gets. It is brilliant. When I actually sat down to make this video, my top book at the time was A Good Person by, I think Kirsten King is who wrote that. But Sky Daddy, I ended up switching the spots because Sky Daddy I think about all the time, nonstop. That is, like, I'm even thinking about doing a reread of it because I just love it so much. It's really worth the hype. If it's one that you're kind of like, oh, should I check this out? Please take my advice, check it out, and then also never get off Flight Rider again. Every time I see a plane, I think about this book. So that was my favorite book. My least favorite book in April was Hexes of the Deadwood Forest. This was so disappointing. This one I definitely picked up just because of the cover, because I was like, wow, that's a funky cover, dude. And I love me some feminist lit, okay? But it was so boring, dude. Like, yeah, there wasn't even anything redeeming about it. I DNF'd it. I think I got like 12% or something. I wasn't very far, and that was literally all I could take. I really didn't like that one at all. I didn't read it enough to recommend it, so I'm just gonna say don't bother. My favorite quote, it came from, I can't remember if I can say this on YouTube or not. It came from Blank Bimbo by Rebecca Novak, and it's, no one tells you when you're a kid that choosing one thing means that you're not choosing so many other things. That quote just really stuck out to me, sorry, not stuck, but it stuck out to me because it just felt very resonant with where I'm at in my life right now. I didn't love the book as a whole. It was just okay. I thought the first two acts of the book were really good, but the third act just completely lost me. But that quote I think about a lot, so that got my favorite quote. Favorite character, normally I pick one or two characters, but for this month, for April, I picked Tailbone because every single character in that book is so good. That's one where I think it should be required reading. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. A lot of kind of what I kind of think about that book and why I keep thinking about it is because it's so gritty. It's a very hard read, but it's one that really stuck with me. And like I said, I loved all the characters. Even if you don't love their actions, you appreciate how well-rounded they are. So Tailbone got my favorite character slot. Biggest surprise, Nothing Tastes as Good. This was surprising. I'm not big on like gore horror. I think it's called splatterpunk is what it's called. Not really my thing, but Nothing Tastes as Good was really, really good. I found that the gore was quite tasteful, but I really liked what the book was doing for kind of diet culture and talking about like weight loss drugs. It's again a really good book, one that really stood out to me. And it was just my biggest surprise because I was a bit skeptical going into it. Moving down to notable mentions, first off, here is A Good Person by Kirsten King. This is wild, okay? You know how I always talk about best offer wins and like She's a Lamb and all that? A Good Person is up there, okay? It is, the entire time you're reading the book, you're like, she cannot get worse, and then she does, and you're like, oh my god, she got worse. I loved A Good Person. I was so upset when it ended. Absolutely loved it. Quickest I think I've ever given a 5-star to a book. Then we have Yesteryear. I talk about this a little in my Yes, No, or Maybe series. I know a lot of people have issues with the fact that there's a lot of plot holes, which I think is a completely fair criticism. For me, however, I really liked the look at not only kind of influencer trad wife culture, but then the entirety of Christianity and how that surrounds trad wife culture and influencer culture. So I really enjoyed Yesteryear. I think it's completely valid. People who don't like the plot holes, I was willing to suspend my disbelief, but there are other books that I'm not, so again, that I think is going to depend on the reader you ask. My final April notable mention is Milk Fed by Melissa Broder. This one, heavy trigger warnings for eating disorders. Really good book, though. If that's something you can tolerate, I definitely recommend it. It's my favorite Melissa Broder I've read so far. And again, another one that you just think about all the time after. So now we're in May, and we're moving over to favorite book again. So my favorite book in May was Boring Asian Female. I could not believe this was a debut. As soon as I finished reading Boring Asian Female, I was like, oh my god, I need to go find out what this author has written. And this is the only thing, and I'm like, oh my god, please, I need more from you. But Boring Asian Female, such a great book. We know at this point, okay, I love my unhinged female protagonists. The prologue, it's one of those things, obviously when you're reading the book, you read the prologue first. The prologue doesn't make sense until the end of the book, but the second it made sense, I was just like, wow, that is a great move. Had me on edge the whole book, really loved it. That's another one where you're like, I can't root for her, but she's also my favorite character. So I thought that was a really good book, and I had a lot of, like, college being hard talk, thought it was really good. Least favorite book, girl, seriously, Normal People ruined my life. Not clickbait, okay? I hate Normal People. I'm sorry. This is not one that I can see the hype around. I read it, and the entire time I wanted to throw Connell out a window. So I'm a little hesitant to continue reading Sally Rooney. If you guys have read Sally Rooney, does it get better, or is this kind of like the style of it? Is this what I have to deal with? Because I probably won't read more of hers if that's true. Moving on to favorite quote, this is a little bit of a controversial book. It's sandwiched. There's nothing controversial about the book. There's nothing that came out wrong. It's more the fact that a lot of people really don't like this book. I found with it, you have people that either really hate it or they really love it. There's very few in between reviews. I really loved it, okay? I actually loved the entire Rocky series, or the Rocky duet. I read Sandwich in May, and I think I read Wreck in June, I think. It was really good. Sandwich is just, it's a series where I think I said on my yes, no, or maybe you need to be kind of in a place to read it. For me, it's like the whole family getting older. As you get older, obviously your family gets older. It really struck a chord with me. I really enjoyed that book. Favorite characters, we're now moving on to Cruelty Free. This is another debut. 100% recommend it. So good. Again, love me some women who are unhinged, impossible to root for. My favorite character was Lila. I think about her all the time, dude. I am never going to look at college in the same way ever again, okay? I loved Cruelty Free. Now moving on to the biggest surprise. Obviously, my biggest surprises can be good or bad. In this case, it was bad because my biggest surprise was Bunny. I had heard that the sequel was terrible, but the book one was really good. I don't agree with that. I thought book one was terrible, actually. I found the main character, what was her name? Samantha, I think her name was? Insufferable. And it was like, I felt like it could have made so many better points, especially when it's like the whole make a boyfriend thing. I was like, it could really be an interesting, look into the patriarchy and things like that. And then it was just like, okay, that's not what we're doing. It was just a major disappointment. I didn't like it, and I won't be continuing the series. Notable mentions, The Forgotten Midwife. I have read a lot of books about women's group homes this year. This is another one. It's like I don't want to... She goes to a convent originally, but then it's like a home for women who are pregnant out of wedlock and girls who are pregnant. And it takes place in Ireland. Brilliant. I was crying so hard at the end. Truly one of the more spectacular books I've read. I know that a lot of people don't like dual timelines. I think it works really well in this book. You don't get confused. It's also just a very interesting look into history. I talk about it a lot with these kinds of books of, not realizing how all of these things happened. So like with these homes for unwed pregnant women at the time, not really understanding how those came about and how then like, here's what they did with the babies kind of thing, selling them off and adopting them out. A really, really good book. I definitely recommend it. It is a bit of a longer read, but I think it was worth every second. Next notable mention, Severance. This is, in my opinion, a classic at this point. I knew it wasn't related to the TV show, so if you didn't know that and you like Severance, the TV show, just bear that in mind. They're not, other than some of the kind of liminality of the spaces, they're not the same story. Loved it, though. And then my final notable mention is What Hunger by Catherine Dang, which is beautiful. it's very gory. It deals with things like cannibalism, and also, also assault. I was like reading through my notes. Also assault, huge trigger warnings, beautiful book, especially the immigrant experience I really enjoyed reading about. But now we're moving on to June, which obviously is the last month in the second quarter recap. We have a favorite book of a lifetime. I read Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen and cried. I was crying so hard at the end, I literally couldn't read. I had to go calm down so I could keep reading. I love this book. Okay, Emily Austen is a favorite author of mine, but this book is, it's not even just a favorite of the year. It's, like I said, it's a favorite of my entire life. I love this book. It's one that I will always think about. It was just so meaningful, and just, I'm a person that lives with anxiety. I found it a very poignant representation of living with anxiety. So I highly recommend checking out Emily Austen. She's very underrated. Moving on to least favorite book, I have a historical romance. I kept seeing people say I should read Spindle Cove, so I read Spindle Cove, or I started it. And it was, unfortunately, my least favorite book in June. This book sucked only because of Bram, okay? Bram is genuinely one of the worst male characters I have ever read about. And listen, I understand there's a lot to talk about with historical romances and a lot of, like, ethics and morality, but I was really bothered by the comments about taking advantage of the women in this town to get them to behave. That just, it really didn't sit well with me. So I'm having a hard time picking it back up, but the first book I didn't like at all, and I don't recommend. My other favorite quote, obviously I said from Rec. I will show the quotes at the end. They are a bit long, but I will zoom in for you at the end. I think the Rocky duet is brilliant. I specifically, though, think if you are a bit older and you're kind of having those, I don't know, those nostalgia moments, I think the Rocky duet is brilliant by Catherine Newman. Moving on to my favorite character, I did actually include a quote on this one at the top of the box. I read Valet, and oh my god, dude, I was thinking about that one robot meme, but at the end where the robot, oh, I almost spoiled it, oh my god. At the end where the robot goes somewhere, I was so upset, dude. I was crying so hard. I'm a big book crier. Is anybody else, like, just constantly crying to books? It may just be me, actually. But I do recommend Valet. Very, very cute sci-fi story. My biggest surprise was The Wedding People. Normally I find that with books that go, like, mega viral, they're very generically interesting. What I mean by that, it's a bit like a food review. It's like, oh, it's good, but that's because everybody can enjoy it. The Wedding People is one of the few popular books I've read that I actually 100% agree with the hype on. I found it so funny. I was highlighting the whole book. I loved every second of it. And now we're moving on to the notable mentions. First up, Discontent. This is another weird girl one. This is so funny to me because, like, again, having to work in an office, that, oh my god, it was so good. So good. I'm, like, trying so hard not to spoil it. But I did love the kind of comments about, you know, we work our whole lives in these offices and we live with these people at work, and all we're worth to them is a minute of silence. And I thought that was a very interesting message. Next up, notable mentions, Bright Young Women. I know a lot of people have issues with biographical fiction. This is obviously based off of Ted Bundy, even though it's not said by name. It's just, I think it's referred to in the book as the killer. Really, really good book. That's definitely one that's going to stay with me. I read it for, it wasn't Pop Sugar. I think it's a 52 and 52, where you read a biographical fiction and then you read a book based off of that. I think that this book is really good. Very heavy trigger warnings, obviously. Talking about, like, the way these women were forgotten, and swept under the rug in favor of the killer was, again, I think it's a tale as old as time. And then finally we have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which I finally read. I'm not the biggest R.F. Kuang fan because I read Catabasis last year and hated it. But Yellowface is much better. There were only a few things I could critique. One being some of the pacing I thought was kind of off. But again, this kind of story, this victim mentality of this woman in the book, oh, it was so well done. But that brings us now to the end of this second quarter recap. Let me know your thoughts. What books have you read? What books haven't you read? What are you planning to read for the rest of the year? I plan on reading a lot more weird unhinged women. So if you did enjoy, please do remember to like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel. Like I said, let me know what's your favorite book of 2026. Should I give it a read? What ones would you avoid? Let me know. I'm always looking for book recommendations. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.